Ladies and gentlemen, here we go right on into Fantasy Daily on this Tuesday, September 28th. Everybody, thank you for joining me. Sorry I missed y'all yesterday. Sorry I missed y'all before the games, the whole breakdown. I got a lot to do today. Unfortunately, my equipment is not set up the way I thought it was going to be. And yesterday I hit a brick wall because all of my memory was gone and it wouldn't let me upload anything. So spent about 45 minutes to an hour filming my show, spent the entire day doing my work, and then I couldn't upload any of it because all of my memory was taken up. So that's what I've been doing for the past 10, 11 hours, is going through all my stuff and making sure that we can get back on here. My internet wasn't working for some reason, so I couldn't put my Spotify up. I couldn't put any of my podcasts out there, and I was having a lot of internet issues, and everything I do is on internet. So it was tough to do that without that. Thank you for being patient. I am back. I am ready to go. I'm going to do the game breakdowns today on today's show. I'm very excited to talk about this because there's a lot of implications that came off of this. And then I got a fun show tomorrow for you. We're going to go over a big board. We're going to talk about a lot of players, a lot of news, stuff like that. So most of the news, the injuries and stuff like that, I'm going to try to cover when I get in game and I'm talking about the game recap. So, if I talk about the Chicago-Cleveland game, that's where I'm going to mention Justin Fields and the quarterback competition over there, stuff like that. But got a couple pieces of news for you real quick. Some stuff that's really not, two of them I don't believe are fantasy implications at all, and that's Dan Arnold traded to Jacksonville. So now Dan Arnold from Carolina goes to Jacksonville. And I just don't think at any point in time I want a Jacksonville tight end, so that's kind of no news to me. The second piece would be that Josh Gordon is going to Kansas City. Now, I know a lot of people really like Josh Gordon. Obviously, Patriots fans that were here with me, we were all stoked to have Josh Gordon on the Patriots when he finally got here, but this is Kansas City we're talking about, and if you're not Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, you really don't have much value, and Josh Gordon's going to fit right back into that equation of not having much value and stuff like that. So me personally, I'm kind of off on the whole Josh Gordon, getting him on my team. I really don't want any part of it. So if you guys are looking at waivers tomorrow for Josh Gordon, I'm 100% out on that. I want no part in Josh Gordon. Let him slip through. Even if you're in deep leagues, I want no part in it. If somebody wins on it, sure, you can have the 1 week, the 1 touchdown, whatever he gets, but I don't see much happening with Josh Gordon at all. James White is out indefinitely, so that hurts. Now, a lot of people who have Damien Harris, you're probably thinking to yourself, woo, here comes Damien Harris. I just don't see it. Last week, he should have gotten a lot of carries. The game gotten away from him, and he's easily game scripted out. So it's going to be another, of course, right when I put my faith into a running back from New England, this is what happened. So same thing in New England. I wouldn't touch it until you know for sure, until there's another LeGarrette Blount back there. But now I'm out. I don't want Damien Harris. I don't really care what comes up behind him because James White being out is not a good thing for him. You saw as soon as James White went out, there was a lot more Brandon Bolden. So I'm out on that as well. If you have Damien Harris, I would definitely be looking to move on from him. So let's get right into the game breakdowns today. That's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to go back through, share my thoughts from the games with everybody, and then tomorrow's show will be more, special stuff. I have some trade people, some trade for targets, some trade aways, and then obviously at the end of this show today I'll have waivers. So let's go through. We're talking Arizona and Jacksonville first. Arizona 31-19. Arizona at first kind of looked a little rough. It was, I'm not going to lie, when I first saw Arizona come out there, I was a little worried with how bad they looked and not being able to get the game going against Jacksonville, which was absolutely terrible. And Jacksonville was able to score a couple times on that. So Arizona was exposed a little bit this weekend, so I think now we can temper our expectations on the defense and say, okay, they're not really that elite of a defense. They're still an okay defense. I think they're doing pretty well against the pass as far as the first few weeks are concerned. Yeah, they're 26th in passing yards allowed. So that's, well, no, I'm looking at it backwards. So they're in the top 10 of passing yards, not allowing passing yards. You know what I mean? So Arizona's still a mid-tier defense. I'm still, looking at it like they're vulnerable. I'm not going to be scared or shy away from playing people against Arizona. So kind of looking at it through that scope now and wanted to touch on that. So Kyler Murray had a great game. Nook got banged up and the game got kind of away from him a little bit. So I wouldn't be worried about Nook at all. AJ Green was surprisingly involved. I still don't take much away from that. It's Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, and I don't want any part in AJ Green. James Conner vultured Chase Edmonds. You still saw a good game from Chase Edmonds. You saw him get the carry, the first red zone carry. Then they needed James Conner to bully it in. So James Conner could be a vulture. He has touchdown upside, but that's really all he has. And I'm still mid-tier on Chase Edmonds for sure. Like, I have Chase Edmonds over Miles Sanders for the rest of the season, too. Like, I'd rather have Chase Edmonds. So, moving on to Jacksonville. Great showing from Jacksonville. I really liked the way that they kind of looked in that game. They looked a lot better. Carlos Hyde definitely looked explosive. James Robinson snuck into the end zone. The Urban Meyer hype for Carlos Hyde is so real that I really still don't want James Robinson, and hopefully I can capitalize on the touchdown this week. But it's going to be one of those things where it's back and forth, and Urban Meyer is going to be like, I want to use Carlos Hyde. So, and when Carlos Hyde is doing 6 for 44 like he did this week, it's tough for me not to say, okay, I see why you're using him. So that's that. DJ Shark sneaks into the end zone. Same old, same old. Start him if you have to, but you're really not happy with having the Jacksonville wide receivers. Giants at Atlanta. This is bad news for the Giants. I know, it's tough for me to completely put this on them when they lost Shepard and Slayton. Evan Ingram's clearly not at 100%. So it's for me, I want to throw out the game against Atlanta because of the 2 wide receivers going out, but as long as these wide receivers out and Daniel Jones doesn't have that connection with those 2, it seems to be a big problem, and they have really no hope of winning games. So if Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton misses serious time, I think there's a lot of concerns for my Daniel Jones hype, because this should have been an explosive game for Daniel Jones, and once he lost those 2, for him to not throw any touchdowns in this game, he had 0 touchdowns thrown in this game, so just not great. Barkley can fly. That was awesome. It was nice to see Saquon finally get himself into the end zone and finally have them, lean on him. And if these 2, Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, are to miss time, I think Saquon is going to get forced into the involvement. Whereas if you look at the, games, clearly they want to kind of work him in, but if both of those guys are out, you really have no choice. You're going to have to start Saquon Barkley. So Saquon Barkley managers, you can get a little bit more confidence rolling forward. You're probably going to need to start them. Keep an eye on those wide receiver, situations, and we'll talk about it more on the show as the week develops. But I think Saquon's finally starting to fit into that role where here he comes. So hopefully it's, we were saying around week 6, week 7 on the show. Hopefully it's sooner. Hopefully it's week 4, week 5. And that'd be really good for Saquon. So Atlanta, they kick the win. So they win with the kick at the end. Pepsi, not a sponsor. Ridley kept him out of the end zone, and Ridley's going to be on my trade show tomorrow because he's a middling wide receiver right now, and he's definitely one of those people that I'm willing to trade if the price is right, because he's not going to return the value that you hoped he did, and he might even end up on like kind of some Julio Jones level play this year where he booms, he busts, but Ridley is middling, you know what I mean? So he can still give you that staple on your team that's not going to kill you, but he's also not winning you weeks the price that you paid for him for sure. So unfortunate, but I think right now you still have the time to, move Ridley while somebody else has really high hopes for him. And if I say move Ridley, I say you're moving him for 2 pieces that make you really happy, or a wide receiver that you're sure. Like if I could move Ridley for DJ Moore right now, absolutely 100% I would. I would move Ridley for Mike Williams. It's that bad. It's that bad. So it's just hard for me to trust Atlanta. It's hard for me to trust Matt Ryan. And when Ridley's not getting those touchdowns, that's bad. Bad. So he's middling. Cordarrelle Patterson, he's an every week flex option now. I'm willing to put him on my bench in deeper leagues and flex him in on the weeks that I need to. Kyle Pitts got vultured by Lee Smith. So like we said before, everybody gets vultured. Don't worry about it. It happens. Baltimore at Detroit. Baltimore just sneaks by Detroit with this 66-yard field goal by Justin Tucker that I'm sure you guys have heard about. Lamar struggled early in this game, but then he just absolutely went nuts. And when I say early, I mean like the first couple minutes you could see that there was something wrong, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and he started to, and not the first couple minutes, the first quarter or so, he clicked, and then it started to move. Marquise Brown really let him down today on Sunday. So the controversial call we didn't talk about. There was an offsides. Clearly, the defense was offsides. The play before clearly shouldn't have been called before the kick got there. So, controversial call. Everybody's talking about it. But I think the biggest controversial call would be the 2 big drops by Marquise Brown. For Marquise to drop those 2 passes was huge. And as soon as he dropped those balls, you watch them go immediately right back to Mark Andrews. So I don't think that's the game going forward. I think they'll still want Marquise involved the way they want him involved, and I still put Marquise Brown as the wide receiver 1 over there. I really still want him on my team. But you can see that if something like that happens, you're kind of done for that game. We might give you one more, but they went right back to Andrews immediately after that happened. So, running backs there are disappointing. You probably had to start Tyson. I started him in one league, and, I'm right back to it. I'm out on Baltimore running backs. I want no part in it. So, Detroit, this is a good team. And if you follow Fantasy Daily, you know I love DeAndre Swift. If you follow Fantasy Daily and you've been doing it for a while, maybe you drafted DeAndre Swift. Because I like the potential as being a guy that's absolutely needed by necessity. And that's really what ends up happening is you have these teams who aren't that good, and then the running backs or whoever it may be, like the Terry McLaurin or whatever it may be, they end up being by necessity great. And when DeAndre Swift is now catching the ball 7 times a game, he's better than most wide receivers catching the ball, and he's at running back. So this isn't even accounting for the rushing ability, the rushing points, and the fact that he's probably going to be the goal line guy first before Jamal Williams. So DeAndre Swift, to me, I'm still going to keep hyping him up, and I think you need to go trade for him if you can. Obviously, after this week, whoever the manager is for DeAndre Swift, they're not going to be too easy to trade with, but I'm still all about it. If I can, I can. I'm going to get him. It's his time to be a fantasy stud. But Jamal Williams still has value, as you can see. He got in the end zone, so you can definitely keep rolling with him. The Lions almost, stuck it to Baltimore in this game, showing that they are a good offense. They really didn't use their wide receivers or Hawkinson in this game. Khalif Raymond had the best game out of all of them, and I'm not touching him at all. So the Lions could really heat up here soon, and I'm a big fan of DeAndre Swift. I'm going to keep rolling with Jamal Williams. Buffalo, 43-21. There's not many big stat lines from this game except for the fact that Josh Allen is an animal and that Emmanuel Sanders is worth a waiver look this week because he's going to keep being involved. Now that he's back, he's going. They want to get him involved. So Emmanuel Sanders has has a good amount of value as a waiver pick for me. Zack Moss, I think this is what we call a ghost game where he has the touchdown, he has kind of the rush in his the opportunities in his corner. They're looking like they want to run with him, but I just don't trust it, especially since Josh Allen's going to be throwing this much. They're going to be playing the game this way. So to me, this looks like a game where you want to buy in on Zack Moss, but I'm being very skeptical. So if you're super, needy at running back, I get it. Just be very careful that it might be another one of those things where you're shooting yourself in the foot. I don't think it's Baltimore's situation where the running backs there are useless. I think Zack Moss and Devin Singletary are still probably better than what their, value is and what we're looking at them with. But I'm still very cautious on what I'm doing with Zack Moss. But if you really, really need something at running back and you have nothing out there, then I would definitely go ahead and grab Zack Moss and add him to my team. But it's still going to be a timeshare. Dawson Knox had the amazing touchdown, so he's a tight end streamer for the touchdown upside only. But that touchdown was great. What the leap over his head, back hit, insane for a tight end of that size. Washington, Heineke played well. I like the way that Heineke did look in this game, but I think it was just Buffalo. It was offense versus offense, and you're not winning when you're playing against Buffalo. Gibson clearly needs to be heavy utilized. You can see that they're trying to stay high on him. They want to keep giving him the ball, so I'm still high on Gibson. McLaurin had an okay day. He didn't sink you, but it's McLaurin. Don't worry about it. Keep rolling with him. Keep rocking with him. It happens to the best of them. Obviously, Nook had an off week this week, but you don't care about Nook. Keep McLaurin in that same exact category. Logan Thomas remains in the tight ends to own and to have on your roster. He's not just a streamer. You can keep him, play him in your lineups. And, he's kind of higher up there where you don't want to play the stream game and drop him and then end up losing him. So Buffalo absolutely dominates. Cleveland, there's not really a lot that I want to talk about in this game because this was kind of obvious to me. Cleveland dominates 26-6 over Chicago. Throwing Justin Fields to the Wolves like that was an obvious choice that they had to do. And now Chicago's talking about having a QB competition. I don't think a QB competition is what they need over there. You need to let Fields get his butt kicked a little bit. And he just got destroyed by Myles Garrett and the Cleveland, defense. But what did you expect? So this was what we expected with Justin Fields. You know, if you have Justin Fields, you didn't play him, hopefully. You weren't expecting a huge game. We knew that Chicago was going to get beat up and they were going to struggle. So, you know, we even said you start David Montgomery, you start Allen Robinson. That's it. We don't want to start Justin Fields. So, A-Rob is a wait and see. I don't want to trade him. He gets Detroit next week, so I'd like to see if he can have a good game against Detroit and then actually raise his value for if I do want to trade him. Trade for Montgomery if you can, because I think if Justin Fields does start to show up and the team gets a little bit better and he gets more comfortable, there'll be a lot of dump-offs to David Montgomery as well. So I do like David Montgomery still. I'm not losing on him. I'm not lowering on him. I would keep him in kind of the same, you know, category and roll with the punches just for now. And then hopefully Justin Fields in the next couple of weeks shows us something promising. Cleveland, Mayfield with a great game, no turnovers. Hunt had a great game. Chubb with a ton of work, even though he didn't have the huge game. OBJ had a good game. It's good enough to trade. That's what I want to see. I want to see OBJ have a good game so I can trade him and never, ever touch him again. Which, me personally, I don't have to trade him because I would never, ever touch Odell Beckham. He's one of the people on my oh no list. He's the don't touch list. There's a few people that are on my do not touch list, and he's one of them. Le'Veon Bell's there. Josh Gordon's there. People I do not touch and I will not touch ever. I absolutely will not own them on my team. I don't care where they are in the draft, if they're on waiver wire. If Odell Beckham was on the waivers, I probably wouldn't. No, I would grab him. That's silly. I'd grab him and then I'd trade him. But I would be grabbing him knowing I'm trading him. So I don't want any part in Odell Beckham ever. Hooper gets the touchdown, so if you streamed him, good work. I want to see why am I playing on my phone case? So I want to see Hooper do well. I like seeing that. So keep him, keep your eye on him if you need tight end help. Kansas City at Chargers. This we said for the game on Sunday that this was going to be game of the week, and to me it was. This was the most exciting game all week, right down to the minute. Actually Baltimore and Detroit was pretty fun. That was probably my favorite game to watch. But Kansas City at Chargers, that was an insane game. Chargers squeak by after Mahomes throws that interception late in the game. I think it was last week we were talking about, everybody was saying, Mahomes has never threw an interception in September. That's what you get for saying it, because now he's thrown 2 in September. So, or actually, it might have been 3. Yeah, I think it was 3, yeah, because he threw 2 in that game against the Chargers. Kansas City loses. They're at the bottom of their division because Raiders and Broncos are undefeated. So they're at the bottom of their division, which Broncos are undefeated, but that's okay. We still like Teddy Bridgewater. So Kansas City, game of the week like we thought. So good and so exciting, up in the last minute. Clyde gets the touchdown, so if you can trade Clyde now, trade Clyde now. Oh my God, trade Clyde now. Oh man, trade if you can. McCole Hardman had the touchdown. That's fine, but that's 2 down weeks for Hill. I would start thinking of trading him if I'm 1-2 or 0-3. Kelsey's obviously very good. Andy Reid had to go to the hospital after this game. He is home now. He's resting. Everything's good with Andy Reid. Let's go back to Tyreek Hill. I think this is kind of a hit or miss thing. If you go back and look at Tyreek Hill's game logs from last year, this is a normal thing for him, is that he kind of hit or misses, except for this is 2 weeks in a row now, which is kind of a concern. And watching Patrick Mahomes kind of trying to force spreading the ball around a little bit more is concerning for me as well. So me personally, if I can take Hill and I can trade super far up to, get something much better, I absolutely will. So Hill's a big price. And people will pay for the name, they will pay for the potential, and you can really help your team right now if you need to trade Hill. So, it's consideration for me. I traded him in my Dynasty League last year, so I don't have to worry about it because I got Justin Jefferson. Hey, Chargers, my man Mike Williams. So, this is kind of a fun one for me. If you've been following Fantasy Daily, you know I'm huge on Mike Williams. I've been saying it since week 1. Since before the week started, I saw that he was on a lot of waiver wires after draft, and I said Mike Williams should not be on waivers. And now here we are week 3, and I'm watching all these fantasy outlets talk about how Mike Williams is going to be a top 5 at the end of the year. This was written last year at the end of the season, So I'm not trying to throw shade at it, Not every fantasy outlet is saying it. It's just a lot of the fantasy outlets that I see out there are all of a sudden talking about Mike Williams. And DJ Moore's another one where they're talking about him like, oh my God, here he comes. He's the stud this year. Like, yeah, so is Cooper Kupp. Okay, duh. We should have saw Mike Williams coming. So, if you're just looking at Mike Williams now and saying, hey, this is great, here he comes, he's a guy that you can go trade for, you can't. No, you can't. So Mike Williams, whoever has Mike Williams, knows what they had when they grabbed him, or, realizes it now. So a lot of people out there saying Mike Williams is a big target. We said a couple weeks ago, you got to go get him. He's going to be a stud. This is the season for Mike Williams that we've been waiting for. You saw it at the end of the year. Here it comes. Now you can't trade for him, or you're going to have to pay the price. So if I had Tyreek Hill and I can get Mike Williams and somebody else for Tyreek Hill, I would do that. Mike Williams is clearly needed in that offense, and he's just so much more dominant than people perceive. So me personally, you gotta buy into these players early if you want them, or else you got to pay the price. So that's really what my whole rant was leading into. I know I kind of got off with talking about how people should have known about Mike Williams and you should have seen it. It was obvious, but now that people are saying, hey, you got to go out and trade for him, they don't like the price. You gotta pay the price for Mike Williams right now. He is a top 10, top 15 wide receiver, maybe even top 5 by the end of the year. He's gonna have a couple more wide receiver 1 weeks. So just wanted to mention, you're going to have to pay for him. Don't look at it as, oh, I'm not paying for him. He's kind of on the same level as, some of the other lower wide receiver 2. He's not a wide receiver 2. He's a wide receiver 1, and he's neck and neck with Keenan Allen. So me personally just wanted to go on my Mike Williams rant there because, we've been saying it for a while. He's a big guy. You got to go get him. We love him. We've been waiting 2 years for this breakout, and I still would pay the price for him depending on what it is. So he's going to keep it up. Allen and Eckler, expect them to keep it up. Jared Cook turns out to not be a great streaming option. That's the game that you play. It was a good matchup, so, it is what it is. It's the streaming game, Justin Herbert's also said to have a hand issue, but he should be okay. New Orleans at New England. I only got 9 minutes left, so I want to scream through all these games so I can get to waivers. New Orleans at New England, not many takeaways from here. Obviously, Kamara was good. Callaway takes the day on this one. He's still waiver/streamer for me. New England let Winston do more than what we thought, so that's bad news for New England next week against Tampa Bay. They're going to get their clock cleaned. This game immediately got away from New England. Harris was a bust. James White went down. Brandon Bolden came in. It was a mess. Hunter Henry both shared 6 targets, so once again, don't care about them. Kendrick Bourne did all the work on that touchdown thrown from Mac Jones, and oh my God, does Mac Jones just look so bad. Moving on to Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, not much to say about this game. Pittsburgh absolutely crumbled after they lost their wide receivers. They leaned really heavily on Harris, and you can tell that Ben Roethlisberger wants to get Firemouth or Freemouth or whatever the tight end's name is over there. He wants to get him involved, so keep an eye on that. Cincinnati, big win over them. They always struggle. They always play well against Pittsburgh. Jamar Chase is the for sure number 1 over there. He's a trade target for me heavy. He's really high up in my rankings now, so I think Jamar Chase is going to keep doing this. Mixon got the carries, but not the touchdown in this game. Don't worry about it. Keep him rolling. I saw a lot of questions yesterday morning if they should trade Joe Mixon. Don't trade Mixon just yet. They played Pittsburgh. Hold on for now. Boyd sneaks in the touchdown, giving you a good week. He was a streamer of the week for me, so luckily two of those picks that I made were bust. I think it was Damien Harris, and I can't remember the other one, but 2 of them were just bust. So sorry about that. Indianapolis at Tennessee. Tennessee takes the game 25. Tannehill keeps the game together for the W. Westbrook hits that touchdown. You likely won't hear his name ever again. Chester Rogers sneaks in his touchdown as well. So without A.J. Brown, Julio had an okay day, and that's a big, big concern. So A.J. Brown and Julio, they also enter that trade region for me. Indianapolis, oh my God, Carson Wentz is just so bad. Jonathan Taylor, I knew that he was going to have that down game. So I'm still, if you follow me, I'm talking about trading for Jonathan Taylor. I would still be all over Jonathan Taylor. I would regularly want Nyheim Hines too if I can get him on my bench and I have the space for it. I need running back. I want Nyheim Hines. Indianapolis came out this morning and said that they are going to be trading Marlon Mack, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Jets at Denver. Jets got absolutely their clock clean, 26-0. Wilson got destroyed. Corey Davis has an okay day. Don't worry about it. Denver showed up. Denver's 3-0, but they played 3 of the worst teams in the league. The running backs really, really were good. KJ Hamler tore his ACL in this game, so Tim Patrick immediately becomes a guy to add. Miami at Las Vegas, there's a lot to talk about in this game. Miami looked really good. Really, really good. I'll talk more about these tomorrow, guys, because I'm running out of time and I want to cover waivers. But Miami looked really good. Vegas fell off a little bit for me, but they still look really good. Vegas desperately wants Jacobs back there. You can tell, so I'm excited for Josh Jacobs to come back. Brissett looked good. He threw a lot of passes, so expect for that team to go super pass heavy going forward. Seattle at Minnesota. Minnesota stays consistent, avoids the 0-3. The defense showed up big time. Madison filled in big time. Wilson had a salvageable day. We expected more, so here's what it is. Keep rolling with those guys. I'm going to cover these guys a little bit more in the show tomorrow. I didn't realize how fast I'm running out of time. Rams plugging and firing away. They kept the momentum going. They beat the Tampa Bay by 10. Tampa Bay is going to go on to slay New England next week. And we also have the Green Bay San Francisco game and the Dallas and Philadelphia game, but I really want to get into waivers because I'm not doing a show until tomorrow morning. That's going to be a long show, so I want this to be a game recap for some of the games, but also the waivers. So let's get right into waivers. Everybody, my waiver number one, it has to be Chuba Hubbard because you're going to get 2 weeks, 3 weeks out of him. He's going to share time with Royce Freeman, but he's going to have more of these games later on. So CMC might be back week 6, week 7, but I don't expect that he's going to be playing from week 7 to week 17. He might miss 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks until then. That's when you can keep Chuba, keep him on your bench, and have him hang out there. So Chuba is my number one waiver ad. He's obviously my number one running back ad, but he's my number one back to add over there. Obviously, if Nyheim Hines is still out there, you have to go get Nyheim Hines. Zack Moss is another running back that I'm willing to look at. Now it's also time to start talking about Jeff Wilson, who's coming back for San Francisco. Me personally, I don't want anything to do with the San Francisco backs. I want nothing to do with the San Francisco backs. So if you need it, you can go ahead and take a look at Jeff Wilson, stash him on your IR spot if you have one until Jeff Wilson comes back, and then you get to play the shuffle of San Francisco running backs. So also, if Alexander Madison happened to go on own, definitely scoop him up, hang on to him. If Pollard's somehow still out there, scoop him up, hang on to him. And then for wide receivers, I think the number one wide receiver that you need to go grab is Tim Patrick. I think Tim Patrick, when Judy comes back, could flex out with Sutton. So Tim Patrick's my